Conroe, Texas. Texas Raiders tours locally and all around the United States, offering the public a chance to put their hands on aviation history. What could be a more perfect gift than a flight on a historic B-17? Taking to the sky on the iconic bomber is an experience that will never be forgotten. For the touring schedule, reservations, or more information, go to b17texasraiders.org or call 855-FLY-A-B-17.
Lone Star Community Radio is looking for those who are interested in hosting their own talk show with monthly and weekly slots available on Conroe's FM 104.5 and 106.1 and on irlonestar.com. Start your own podcast, create your first YouTube channel, and be on TV. Contact Lone Star Community Radio online at irlonestar.com or call the station message line at 936-647-3776.
Don't forget to download the Lone Star Community Radio app from your Google Play or Apple Store. Bring Montgomery County's community radio with you anywhere with your smartphone or tablet. If you are in the Conroe area, tune in on FM. That's Conroe's FM 104.5, 106.1. If you are on the computer, bookmark irlonestar.com as your internet radio station. A Lone Star Community Radio. Broadcasting 24/7 from the heart of downtown Conroe, Texas.
Thank you for listening to Lone Star Community Radio. This program was broadcasted and recorded live from the LSCR studios in downtown Conroe, Texas. Lone Star Community Radio is supported by listeners like you. Donate and sponsor today. For more information on getting involved with Lone Star Community Radio, contact us at lscrstudios@gmail.com or visit us online at www.irlonestar.com.
Well, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. This is Rick Schissler. I'm your host. I'm a Silver Fox advisor, and I'm the founder of OneBestConsult.com. And you are listening to the Weekly Business Hour. I think we've got a great show lined up for you this week. We've got a local business entrepreneur in the studio with us, and we'll get to that in just a minute. But as you know, I like to start off every show and sort of put a question out there for you, something you can kind of noodle on yourself while you're listening to the program or afterwards. And today is, I think we all need to be in line with the idea of looking for the silver lining, right? We've had so many different things come our way, personally as well as in business. Lots of curveballs, fastballs, sliders, you name it. And if you don't like baseball, come up with football, short pass, long pass, whatever. It's been a difficult environment for business. Some people have thrived. I know businesses that are they're up 10, 20% and have been that way for the last 3 or 4 years. But most businesses have been really challenged. And today, all of us, when we go into the market and try to hire people, we're challenged. So we all have these challenges. So I encourage you, don't let it get you down. Look for the silver lining. It's different for every industry and every business. What works for me is not necessarily what works for you. So don't feel bad that your friend down the street is found his silver lining and you're still looking. It's different, but I encourage you again to look for it. One of the things that'll help you get there, I believe, as I say on a regular basis, and I don't mean to be repetitive, is a good business plan. You need to plan where you want to take your business. And you all know, if you've listened to the show or read my blog, I believe in a one-page business plan in addition to other things you may want to do, but at least have that one page that gives you that roadmap, that offers you that guidance so that you can check off and hold yourself accountable as you go along. Otherwise, a lot of wasted effort, wasted time, and unfortunately sometimes a dead end for you and your business. So put that plan together and build it on that silver lining. Well, the Weekly Business Hour is where Montgomery County, and in fact beyond Montgomery County, people around the world are able to listen to our program because of the magic of the internet. And this is what we try to do here. We try to talk about ideas, come up with ways to solve problems that potentially you could use even today in your business. So we carry on a conversation, both on the OneBestConsult.com website as well as weekly on the Weekly Business Hour. So thank you for taking time to join us. I want you to understand that the show is also being broadcast live, not only on Conroe Radio FM 106.1 and 104.5 for those of you who live in the Conroe area, but live on Facebook and YouTube. We have a page, The Weekly Business Hour, so you can watch as well as listen to the program. Anytime during the program, a final reminder, you have a question about what we're talking about, a question about your own business, or an observation about what we're doing on the show and some ideas you may have, drop me an email. I love to get these emails. OneBestConsult, that's the number one, bestconsult@gmail.com. Send me your emails. I'd love to hear from you. We actually have a mailbag segment later in the show where one of our listeners has posed, I think, a pretty good business question for the current times we're in. So send those type of questions. Anything you have to offer related to small business is deeply appreciated. Well, without any more delay, let's talk to the guest. We have a very special business guest in the studio today. Judy Salcido is with us. She's the owner administrator of Home Instead Senior Care. Judy, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Rick. It's good to be here.
Well, I'm glad you're here. You've got a wonderful business story to share with us, and I think you're going to bring a perspective based on the conversations you and I've had that can be beneficial to a number of our listeners. So let's start out your business background. Prior to getting into business for yourself, what is it that you did business-wise to get you to the point of going into business yourself?
Well, I worked for Shell Oil Company, and I worked in safety and health, and I was quite happy there. But as oil companies go, it's not if you get laid off, it's when you get laid off. In 2017, my boss called me into the office, and he said, Judy, I'm sorry, we've got to lay you off. And it wasn't just me that day, it was the entire safety group, about 164 people. But I remember telling him, without any emotions or anything, I'm okay with this. Because I knew that my father, he was in Georgetown, Texas, and he was ill. And I knew that I needed to be with him. So I do believe that God opened the door for me to get in, to look for something else. I didn't know quite what that would be in my future, but I was only concentrated on my father and keeping him home where he always wanted to be.
So you had worked for the big corporate environment
Yes,
for
I
about
have.
how many years was that?
About 24.
So you had 24 years in, and you're what I call a corporate refugee. Just literally thousands, probably millions if we really count it up. People
Yes.
work for big companies and have a desire or dream to go out and do their own thing for various reasons. And most recently, in the last few years particularly, people have been laid off or the company's changed hands or whatever, so there are even more of you out there looking for something.
There is, definitely.
And so during this time of helping your father, you formulated an idea, I suspect, about a business or a type of business that you might be interested in.
I did. It was, I feel like God's blessing to me to be able to take care of my father. He was alone. He had multiple chronic conditions, and being with him was one of the greatest things I ever did. One of the hardest things I've ever done, but one of the greatest things I've ever did. And Dad and I, in his last year of life, we just became so close. And I feel like this was my chance to be still in this world. And I had 24/7, I did 24/7 care for Dad for a year. And in that year, we had so much fun, had so many great discussions, visited state parks, took walks around the block. I walked, he rode his electric wheelchair. We watched, he used to take slide pictures back in the day, and I found like 400 of them. So we looked at slides together, and we reminisced about the past. He told me things about him that I'd never known. Our parents are our rock, our providers, but he, in this year, became my best friend, told me how he proposed to Mom, his love of cars in his early life. And it meant so much to me. When he did pass, I was with him that morning, and I knew that the time was very, very near. His breathing had changed, and so I laid down next to him. He was in a queen-size bed. It was Mom and Dad's bed, and I held his hand, and I just heard these heavy breaths. And he just breathed like that for a little bit, and then all of a sudden, the pounding of his heart just stopped. And I was laying there with him, and I remember looking at the clock. But the next thing I saw was the most amazing thing I've ever seen. My dad had not moved a muscle in 2 weeks as he lay on his deathbed. But right after he died, his arm went up, reaching to heaven, and he had a smile on his face. And I was holding his hand, so when he reached it up, my hand kind of plopped down on the bed. But I knew it was the end, and I just laid there for a minute and was with him, and just remembered all the beautiful times that we had together. He actually became my best friend in the end, and it was wonderful.
Well, let me ask you this. Now, you've gotten through that situation, in my opinion, because I've had the experience as well, blessed to be able to step back and focus on a parent or parents like that,
Yes.
or a loved one. And now you're ready to go to work. So you went out into the world with an idea. What was your idea at that point?
I had no idea. To be very honest with you, I had no idea what it was going to be that God had me going to next. But I know that my dad always used to say, I just want to be home instead. And I got on the internet one day, just kind of looking around for things to do. And I loved caregiving, and I thought, well, I'd love to start my own business. Dad left me seed money so that I could start my own business. And so I thought, well, I'm going to do the caregiving business. I love it. I have a passion for it. I want to make sure that caregivers are trained. I had all kinds of ideas, but really didn't know what direction to go in. So I got on the internet. The first company that popped out, a caregiving agency, was Home Instead. And so I went there and I applied to be a caregiver. Didn't know what else to do at this point, but I thought, let me see what it looks like working from inside of an agency out. And what kind of training did they give me, and how did we do this? So I went into orientation, excited about the prospect of going in and learning a little bit. However, you have to sign a lot of paperwork as a caregiver. And one of those pieces of paper was non-disclosure, non-compete, and all of this. So I thought, well, I don't want to get involved. I don't want to think that I'm stealing their ideas, because I'm going to start my own business. So I talked to the lady that was giving the orientation, and I told her what I was doing and that I was very sorry that I wasn't going to stay. Just after that, as I was walking away, I ran into the owner of the business, and she asked me, "Are you leaving already?" And I said, "Yes, ma'am, I'm leaving." And she said, "Why?" And I told her my story. And her eyes got big, and she looked at me and she said, "Did you know that this business is for sale?" And I said, "Can we talk?" It was about 2 weeks later before we talked.
So just the fact that you had applied for a job, right?
Yes.
To learn more about the industry and about this particular provider.
Absolutely.
That you, by the grace of God or luck or whatever people want to call it.
By the grace of God.
You were introduced to this opportunity. Now, buying an existing business versus starting from scratch, as I like to say, big difference.
Big difference.
Big difference.
Big difference.
What was the big difference that you experienced?
Well, the biggest difference is I didn't know anything about franchises, for one thing, and I learned that it was a franchise, and I'm like, gosh, I thought McDonald's was a franchise, or food eateries, but there's thousands of franchises out there, and so I had to learn a little bit about the franchise prospect. But we talked, and she explained it to me. We had several meetings. And I just felt so blessed that I walked in that day to be a caregiver and walked out as a potential business owner. And during the next year, it took a year for negotiations. I learned so many things about business and what you need to do and what is a franchise. And I learned that franchises are really, really neat. And Home Instead is the world's largest home care agency.
Well, one of the things that when I've talked with people, as I call them, corporate refugees, as I said, franchising is a direction that many of them decide to go because they've been in the corporate world, so there's a lot of business hands-on stuff. For example, bookkeeping, this, that, how to advertise, market. They're not really up to speed. And the feedback I've always gotten is from these people who have bought a franchise is that whether they had to start it from scratch or it was an existing one like you, was that they love the guidance, they love the ability to plug in, get information.
It's wonderful.
And
It's wonderful.
that's really what they were buying. Plus, they had an identity, of course.
Exactly.
Is that what sort of motivated you as well, or what was your motivation to buy a franchise?
Because I wouldn't have to start it from scratch. That would take years. And so the possibility of bringing over existing clients and existing caregivers, we had an immediate business. And it was wonderful. And the franchise itself was fantastic. The training, the things that we had to go to get vetted ourselves was just absolutely wonderful.
Let me ask you this now.
Sure.
You mentioned that it took you a year of negotiations.
It did.
Who was there to help you through that year? That's a long time. You, I assume, have never negotiated to buy a business.
Never in my
so
life.
what resources did you call on to help you wade through all of that?
So this is where God stepped in again, and my son-in-law, who's very business-minded, and my daughter-in-law, my daughter, we began doing this together, and they were teaching me, and that's how it started out. And we learned so many things. We bought business tapes and listened to them at night and had a whiteboard, and we just started writing and learning everything that we could about the business. The wonderful piece about this is, as we were beginning this kind of midway, my daughter asked me, "Mom, would it be okay if I was your business partner?" And I just feel like that was such a blessing in itself. So she is my business partner, and my son-in-law is now our finance manager, and he does all of the invoicing and payroll and everything. These two kids, I'm very proud, graduated from West Point Military Academy, and they're just sharp as a whip. And it has brought us closer together as a family unit. I have my youngest daughter. We hired her. She'll come in now and then, but it is a family business, and I love it.
You know, that's amazing. You've got two, obviously highly educated, that they went to a military academy, but they're willing to work with you in this business. It's that in itself is a great story. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we are used up our time in the first quarter of our program today. We're going to take a short break, and then we're going to come back and continue this conversation with Judy and talk about taking over that business and running it, because I think she's got a lot more interesting ideas and suggestions and a wonderful story to share with us. So please stay with us. We'll be right back with you.
Remember to download the Lone Star Community Radio app from your Google Play Apple Store. Bring Montgomery County's community radio with you anywhere with your smartphone or tablet. If you are in the Conroe area, tune in on FM 104.5, 106.1. If you are on your computer, bookmark irlonestar.com as your internet radio station. Lone Star Community Radio, broadcasting 24/7 from the heart of downtown Conroe, Texas.
Lone Star Boxer Rescue is a nonprofit organization serving Montgomery County and surrounding areas, dedicated to the health and well-being of the boxer breed. Lone Star Boxer Rescue is run and managed 100% by volunteers since 1999. Our main objective is to rescue, rehabilitate, and rehome boxers that come to us from many sources, including local animal shelters, owner surrenders, and strays. For more information about Lone Star Boxer Rescue, visit our website at lsbr.org.
Hey y'all, it's DJ Mike from Dance Time in Texas. Join me Monday through Friday at 8 a.m. as I count down the top 10 Texas Red Dirt songs that are packing the dance floor. I'll be featuring local artists and the story behind the hits, shows in the area, as well as new songs that make you want to dance. It's Dance Time in Texas with DJ Mike on Lone Star Community Radio, 104.5 KCZW and 106.1 KZCC, Conroe, Texas, or online, irlonestar.com.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. You're listening to the Weekly Business Hour. I also want to remind you before we get started and further our conversation with Judy that if you have a comment about the show or an idea, or you have a question about your own business, send it to me. Just send it to that's the number one, bestconsult at gmail.com, and I'll respond. And perhaps if you have a question about your own business, we'll even put it in our mailbag and talk about it on the air. So please let me have that email. Love the feedback. Love the opportunity to talk with you. Well, today we're having our conversation with Judy Salcido. She's the owner, administrator of Home Instead Senior Care here in the Conroe, Montgomery County area. Judy, when we went to break, you just told us about the partnership that was formed as a result as you're being led through this process. Very, very interesting story. When was it that all this happened? When did y'all start in business?
We took ownership on April 1st of 2020. Not only was this the beginning of COVID, but this was April Fool's Day. When we realized that it was April Fool's Day, my daughter and I, we just busted out laughing because my father would pull out all the stops every single year to get us, including his last year. It was probably a month before he died. He was in an acute care facility at this time. And I went in with my coffee and we started talking, and all of a sudden he goes, "Something's crawling up my leg." And so I got up in this hospital and I tore those sheets off of his bed, and my dad said, "April Fools," and and he just laughed. I was a little worried at that point because he was laughing so hard. I didn't know if he would make it through this laughter. But I do think that that God has a little sense of humor as well. For
That's
that day
funny.
is very memorial to us.
So you've celebrated 2 years in the
We have
business. Well,
celebrated
congratulations.
April 1st. We've celebrated 2 years. Yes.
Well, let's talk about that. You've been 2 years. I'm sure you had some kind of plan, a business plan, strategic plan, whatever. Have you been able, because of COVID, made it difficult to plan as far as growth and whatnot? Your goal setting, how has it worked for you? Been able to meet the goals that you have set in the business?
We have actually, just like every other small business out there that's hiring people, it has been difficult to hire caregivers. But 3 months ago, we exceeded our business plan. And so we feel like we're doing really well. We're still out there trying to hire compassionate, caregivers with heart. So if anybody out there has interest in that, please let me know. Just contact Home Instead.
Yeah, the employment market, and I've been in this area all my life, and we've had this kind of situation before where unemployment in those days, it was sort of simpler, I think. Unemployment got down to 3%, and I remember my father, because we had a family business, saying, well, if it goes much lower, you're basically hiring people that can't get jobs. Other than the ones recycling, it became very, very difficult to find people.
It has been.
Any tricks to share with us?
Any tricks for hiring?
To find or hire people?
We have a lady in our office. Her name is Jacqueline. She is our recruiting and engagement coordinator, and we also have a platform that we use, Applicant Stack, that helps us get caregivers in the door. The trouble with that, though, is we're only going to hire the ones that truly have a compassionate heart. And it really does help when they have taken care of family members or something in their past, because they understand the need for this out in the community. There's so many seniors out there that need us.
Now, you're looking for a certain job qualification, really a job requirement, being the compassionate heart. How do you determine that? Do you have some testing, psychological testing, or is it just the feel of the interview process or certain questions?
Yes, our gal, Jacqueline, she interviews these folks for 45 minutes to an hour. It's not just a simple, come in and do you want to do this? We're desperate for you. But she interviews them for about an hour, and you really get a good feel. And she's done an amazing job at hiring beautiful caregivers. So probably out of 5 caregivers, we may hire 1 or 2.
Right.
Yeah, we want the ones that are willing to do the work, the long hours. We are a 24/7 operation, so we've got girls working all night long, some 4 hours, some 12 hours, some 8 hours, all across Montgomery County. We've got them in Magnolia, Huntsville. We have 2 right now, Willis, Cut and Shoot, Conroe, of course, Magnolia, and the Woodlands. We do all of Montgomery County. So these girls, I just imagine them at night driving to their little senior's house, and they're so wonderful and they're so reliable. You can't beat it. And we love on them a lot.
Well, for those of you who have not experienced this in your life, I have in several occasions, and it can make all the difference in the world. And there seems to be kind of a move that even the government is talking about it now, the federal government offering more support to people who take care of parents at home, but the idea of people staying in their homes versus going to facilities and so on and so forth. From your position, what do you see the future of your industry? Do you see that increased demand for the type of people that you employ?
I do see an increased demand, especially now with the baby boomer generation. You know, we've got a lot of clients calling that are in that generation, and expected by 2030 to 2050, it's going to double, triple in size. And so, yes, there is a huge demand. But Home Instead, I just want to give you just a little statistics. We have over 1,200 locations in worldwide, in about 14 overseas in the UK, and about 100,000 caregivers. And so it's a wonderful business to be in. Home Instead is a non-medical agency, so we are different from home health in that they come in and do medical. And we do non-medical. We call them activities of daily living. This could be helping them bathe, helping them fix meals, do laundry, clean. We do light housekeeping. We had a caregiver last week that actually took a couple that she cares for to the airport. The little lady has dementia and the little man is in a wheelchair. But I mean, we're in the airports, we're all over the place, you know, helping these folks with things that they can't do by themselves.
Yeah, I've had the experience and seen it work. As a business, though, home health care,
Yes.
You've talked about employment challenge for you, just like most everyone else who's growing, needs employees. But beyond that, what is your biggest business challenge today in your business?
The biggest challenge is still caregivers, is hiring.
Well, beyond that, though, beyond the employment situation, what is your single business, your biggest business challenge?
It's just the biggest business challenge, and this really goes across worldwide, is finding the right caregivers. That is the biggest business challenge. Last week we had convention in our corporate office, and so we had 800 business owners come, and it was the same story across the board.
So if you find people, then the rest of the business sort of takes care of it itself?
Yes, it does.
That's what I'm hearing,
That's
which is
what you
interesting.
hear. You hear that because last week we must have had 6 service calls, people looking for a service. And so we're trying to hire as fast as we can, or take a caregiver that's working 4 hours in the morning to do a night shift, or, different things. But we have a really good scheduler there too. That's a big job in the office.
Well, let me ask you that. You said you had 6 calls. How do you market this type of business?
We market by going to hospitals, St. Luke's, talking to discharged people. The last thing in the world a hospital wants is for a patient of theirs to be readmitted. So this is where we can talk about, we can help you with not having them readmitted by caring for them in their home.
So that seems to be your single source, that referral network that you would set up like that.
Yes, medical hospitals, home health agencies, hospice agencies. We work together.
Now, do you have a program that you follow to do that, or is it just you have a list of people and you just stay in touch with them? Or
we have a list of people that we stay with, that we're always in touch with. Yes, and as far as training, we have training to do sales. The franchise has, I can't even tell you, thousands of trainings, online trainings for us. So if you get somebody that's interested in doing sales, you give them those trainings.
Right. Mm-hmm. It's another advantage, I
It is
suggest, of
an
a
advantage
good franchise.
of
They have that
franchise.
training
Yes, sir.
ability, and things have gone virtual, so that plays right into that.
Yes, it
you know,
does. Yes,
be
it
able to
does.
do that. Well, you're here in Montgomery County, which is, as you probably well know, one of the fastest growing areas in the United States, has been for the past several years. Our own city of Conroe here, approaching 100,000 in population, booming all over the place. What do you see as a business owner? What do you forecast 3 to 5 years out? What is it going to look like business-wise here in the Conroe, Montgomery County area?
Yes, because of that growth, we are anticipating a larger population of clients, caregivers, everything. We're expecting that. When we first took over the business and we were being interviewed by the franchise, they were, they want you to have this business plan. They want you to grow every year. And the census for seniors was something like 85,000 seniors in this area. So we do feel like we're going to be busier and busier and busier.
Yeah, I think there's great potential for growth. There's no
Yes.
doubt about it.
Yes.
If you could roll back time 2 or 3 years ago when you got into this process, what would you do different? I mean, we always have something that we might have done a little bit different as we went into owning a business. Is there anything particularly that stands out in your mind that if you could change, you would change?
I honestly, Rick, I really don't. I feel like the way that I got in here and the direction that God had me on was opening all of these doors to get from A to B in a very quick time. It wasn't like starting my own business or anything. So I feel very blessed. And there's a Bible verse that I just love, and it's Jeremiah 29:11. And he just says, I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future. And I feel like that's what God did for me.
Well, it sounds like, if I can observe listening to you, and we've had previous conversation, that the family business idea with your son-in-law and your daughter, I mean, two highly qualified individuals.
Absolutely.
I mean, wow, that's unique.
It is unique.
And I grew up in a family business that had many, many different people and a lot of moving parts, and I always tip my hat to my father and my uncle, who were the head of it, well, my grandparents initially, but they made it work really well. So I have the best in mind for you. If someone listening to the program would like to contact you, maybe with a business question about something they heard or about your services, what's the best way for them to do that?
If they could call our office, and I'll leave the number, it's 936-441-3223. That's our main number, and you can ask to talk to me, Judy Salcido. Thanks.
Well, Judy, thank you so much for coming in. Do you have anything else you'd like to leave us with? You're full of wisdom. So.
Thank you. I don't know about that. I'm learning every day, but we have sort of transformed the training. We have an RN on staff too. That's our trainer. So we have a good program.
Yeah, It sounds like you're building a great business, bringing the right components together.
I feel we are.
Congratulations
yes.
to
so
you
much.
and your partner, if I may.
Thank you so
and
much.
much success in the future. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take our bottom of the hour break here, and I want to remind you that the video podcast of today's program will be posted by Wednesday of this week. You can go to YouTube, you can go to Facebook, you can go to the station here, Lone Star Community Radio. There's hundreds of places that we're out there, the weekly business hour. Look for that title for that page. When we come back, I'm going to dip into that mailbag. Sarah T. sent us she's a business owner, and sent a good question. How can I better deal with the skyrocketing wages that people are looking for when they apply for a job? And we'll attempt to answer that question. And then I also have my tip of the week. Well, guess what? It's the end of the first quarter. How have you met your goals? So we'll kind of touch on that, have a little fun in the meantime. So please stay with us. We'll be right back with you.
Don't forget to download the Lone Star Community Radio app from your Google Play or Apple Store. Bring Montgomery County's community radio with you anywhere with your smartphone or tablet. If you are in the Conroe area, tune in on FM. That's Conroe's FM 104.5, 106.1. If you are on the computer, bookmark irlonestar.com as your internet radio station. A Lone Star Community Radio, broadcasting 24/7 from the heart of downtown Conroe, Texas.
Hey, tune into the Bridge Podcast TX Tuesdays at 11 a.m., where we are connecting commerce with community, interviewing business owners and leaders in the community, allowing the audience to peek behind the curtain of what inspires, motivates, drives these individuals to have meaningful, positive impact in this community. For more information about the show, log into irlonestar.com/TBPTX.
Want to check out the fastest growing sport in the world? It's right here in Conroe, Texas, and it's roller derby. Conroe Roller Derby is a non-profit recreational league of women and men who want you to come and check out the fast-paced, hard-hitting game of roller derby. The Conroe Cutthroats practice at Rainbow Roller Rink on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Sundays. You can find our game schedule and more information on our website, www.conroerollerderby.com.
A Lone Star Community Radio is Montgomery County's radio station with talk, music, weather, and traffic for Montgomery County. Have a question or comment about one of our shows? Want to know how to reach a host? Just contact the station at irlonestar.com or call in and leave a message at 936-647-3776. Get involved with your community with the Lone Star Community Radio.
Lone Star Boxer Rescue is a non-profit organization serving Montgomery County and surrounding areas, dedicated to the health and well-being of the boxer breed. Lone Star Boxer Rescue is run and managed 100% by volunteers since 1999. Our main objective is to rescue, rehabilitate, and rehome boxers that come to us from many sources, including local animal shelters, owner surrenders, and strays. For more information about Lone Star Boxer Rescue, visit our website at lsbr.org.
A Lone Star Community Radio is Montgomery County's radio station with talk, music, weather, and traffic for Montgomery County. Have a question or comment about one of our shows? Want to know how to reach a host? Just contact the station at irlonestar.com or call in and leave a message at 936-647-3776. Get involved with your community with the Lone Star Community Radio.
Hey y'all, it's DJ Mike from Dan Simon, Texas. Join me Monday through Friday at 8 a.m. as I count down the top 10 Texas Red Dirt songs that are packing the dance floor. I'll be featuring local artists and the story behind the hits, shows in the area, as well as new songs that make you want to dance. It's Dance Time in Texas with DJ Mike on Lone Star Community Radio, 104.5 KCZW and 106.1 KZCC, Conroe, Texas, or online, irlonestar.com.
Does your company have needs that can be met by an employee who is dependable, hardworking, enthusiastic, motivated, cooperative, respectful, and punctual? Conroe Independent School District Special Education Department can meet your needs by connecting you with potential employees that have been preparing for a lifetime of employment. We have numerous individuals seeking paid and unpaid work experiences. If your company is interested in seeing how we can meet your business needs, call Conroe ISD Special Education Department to find the best employees for you at 936-709-7671.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. You are listening to the Weekly Business Hour. I'm Rick Schissler. I'm your host. And again, I appreciate you joining us today. I hope you enjoyed that conversation with Judy Salcido. Great business story of how she was led to buy an existing franchise and build a business further. 2 years in, she's had fantastic success. And on top of that, she's got two partners, or a partner and a spouse, both graduates of one of our military academies. Amazing story. So another quick reminder to you that if you are here in the local area, you're here in the Conroe area particularly, we are always seeking sponsors for our show. So if you have a business and you'd like to connect with our show here, the Weekly Business Hour, and more particularly the radio station, Lone Star Community Radio Station. It is the community radio station for all of Montgomery County. Put your business in as a sponsor. We'll talk about you. We'll shine that bright light on you, and hopefully you can bask in the glow, as they would say. Just reach out to me here at the station. It's Rick, R-S-E-K, at irlonestar.com. That's Rick at irlonestar.com. I'll send you a bit of information. It's a fairly simple process, but we'd love to have your business as one of the sponsors of the Weekly Business Hour. Well, let's go to the mailbag. I promised that when we went to break, and I pulled out this, it's been a couple weeks ago, Miss Sarah T., who's a business owner in the Midwest, sent in this question, and it had a little bit of background, but it was, how can I better deal with the skyrocketing wages that people are looking for. She, like Judy, who we just visited with, needs to hire people. Her business is growing right now. And she's faced with a dilemma that thousands, hundreds of thousands, even millions of small business people throughout the United States are faced with, having to come up and pay wages way beyond, sometimes 20, 30% or more than what they were just paying 6, 12 months ago. They have existing employees that are on a wage scale tied to the old wage, so to speak. And so now to bring new people in, they're going to be getting paid more than someone potentially who's been there for 10, 20 years. It's a hell of a dilemma facing businesses. And Sarah was asking, what can I do to make the situation work for my business? Well, I've got several things when I pondered what she was asking, hopefully practical things. First thing you do is make sure, this is my opinion, make sure your entire hiring process is tight. Make sure you have spent the time, and I found, unfortunately, so many businesses that I get involved with, that I talk to, that I consult with, that I mentor, have not done this. Have a hiring process. That's where you start. In other words, sit down and write up, type in your computer, however you want to do it, a simple step-by-step process, even if you only have 1 or 2 people. Because when you go to hire, you need a reference. You may not have hired somebody for a year, 2 years, maybe longer, right? And all of a sudden you need to hire someone. You may be hiring people every week. It's still good to have that checklist so that if somebody needs to help you, they can read the checklist and catch up with you as far as their knowledge and get involved in the process to assist you. There's a lot of good reasons to have it written out. Tighten the process up. Have a step-by-step process. There's literally thousands and thousands of books, forums, webinars out there to help you put together your own process. But to have a step-by-step process and make sure that when you do the hiring that you follow it. And what's the whole point there? Well, if you have the process down, then you need to stick to that. If you do that, you've got the job description, the job requirements, you know what kind of person you're looking for. Your chance of success of finding the right person goes up like this. And there's statistics all over the place. Like if 2 different people interview a prospect for any given job versus just one, your chance of success go up from 80-some% to 90, the mid-90s of success in finding the right person. So you need to have that process in place. The second thing is put your focus on hiring someone who is right for your business. They're right for that position. You know, in the past, it was all about skills, and I still find that today. And I was guilty of that. I'm looking for someone who's got those basic skills we're looking for, whether it was the ability to use the computer or run a machine. Yes, they had to have those skills. And then whoever they were, what their thinking was, what their attitude was, we talked about it, but it really wasn't that important. That's a huge mistake because, again, if you don't find someone that fits in your business and you in turn have to pay a higher wage, then you're going to have turnover. You're going to lose people. And that's been a fact for a long time. You've got to reduce your turnover if, in fact, you have a high turnover. You want to bring people in. Common sense tells us, and many businesses do, that love the job, you love them, they do a great job, they're able to develop. If they're missing some skills, plan to teach them those skills. Don't just throw them to the wolves like we used to do many, many years ago. Sink or swim, right? My dad used to talk about that. You can't do it. So one of the things when you have a higher wage is do a better job in hiring people. And last but not least in my list is review your structure. Okay, you have 2 employees and one does this, one does that, and you do all the rest. Maybe both of them just work the front counter and you're just having to cover certain times and that's all you're looking for. You're just looking for a warm body. Well, that's kind of a different situation. I hope that's not your situation, but make sure your workflows, your processes have the right number of people. Now, it really becomes an issue when someone's been doing something, had a business that's generational, or you've been doing it for 10, 20 years or more, and you've done it this way, and you kind of get settled in your ways, and you don't take time to say, hey, maybe if we do this, we might be able to eliminate a position. Or if we combine these two positions, we might eliminate. So you may be able to help yourself out with the wage question, right, by reorganizing yourself and be more efficient, which is really should be your objective anyway. Produce your product or service and be more efficient about it. Finally, and this sort of summarizes it, be sure you get the round pegs in the round hole and the square pegs in the square holes. A vast majority of the time that I've had to terminate someone, particularly in the first 90 days of their employment, that was my example. It's not your fault, it's not our fault, but it is our fault. It really is, because you're a square peg and we had a round hole to fill, and you just didn't fit. And it's just unfortunate, but you just don't fit the job here. And I can't tell you how many times I've had to do that with people. And that just doesn't make sense, particularly now. We've got to get better at hiring people. There is no magic solution to higher wages. We've got to be creative. It's an opportunity to look at how you pay people, your incentives and things like that. But when you have to pay a higher starting wage, regardless of the position, whether it's entry level, minimum wage, who knows what that is? We don't even hear about that anymore because it's $7, $8 an hour, but effectively it's $12, $15. You know, we don't hear about the government mandated minimum wage anymore. You have to do whatever you do efficiently and effectively. This is an overall strategy. It's not just what do I do if I have to pay someone $20 and my people are averaging 18 or 21 that have been there. That has to go into your thinking, there's no doubt. Perhaps, though, you can adjust those wages, make everybody happy, but you're getting something in return. You're getting more productivity by reorganizing your structure or reducing your turnover, getting more out of the people you have. That starts with a job description for each job requirement, the type of person you're looking for, and a process that is effective in delivering what you need. We're going to take a short break, and when we come back, I'm going to close out today with my tip of the week, entitled The End of the First Quarter. Have you met your goals? First quarter's in the books, as they would say. It's time to look at the goals that we set for ourselves at the beginning of the year and see how we're doing so far. So please stay with us. We'll be right back with you.
What can the Better Living for Texans program do for you? You can learn how to increase your consumption of fruits and vegetables, choose foods that are relatively inexpensive and good to eat, make your food dollars last longer, prepare quick, nutritious meals, help your children learn how to eat healthier snacks, and much more. Our program is committed to helping people like you improve your health through providing research-based nutrition education in a friendly, cost-free, and relaxed environment. We are Texas A&M AgriLife Extension, helping Texans make their lives better.
You are listening to the Weekly Business Hour. I'm Rick Schissler. I'm your host. We're to the final segment of today's program. Before we get to that, just another reminder, drop me a line, send me an email. Tell me what you think about the show, or ask me a question about your business. I love to communicate with our listeners. It's real simple. Just send it to onebestconsult@gmail.com. It's the number onebestconsult@gmail.com. Well, goal setting, planning, these are words and ideas that I talk about quite frequently because I try to encourage, because the surveys out there for years have shown that businesses in general, both large and small, don't do planning. They either don't do enough of it or they do almost none of it. Even larger businesses do very little planning. Not every business, because when you find a really good business, one that you can pick out that's doing well, whether it's a large company that publicly produces its results, or if it's a small company and you walk in, you do business with them, or it's owned by someone you know, and you know that they're doing very well consistently year in and year out, I guarantee you're going to find they've got a plan. It may be a 50-page business plan. It may be a strategic plan, a business plan, a marketing plan. Who knows? But they've got a plan. And one of the things you do in the plan is set your goals. And I'm a huge believer, as I've discussed before, is that you set your goals for the year. These are goals for yourself and for your business. But then you break it down at least quarterly. So you don't have to go a whole year to get where you think you want to go. It's the quarterly goals that act as your stepping stones to get to those end of the year goals. So we've got the first quarter, it's in the books. And the financials for the first quarter should be in preparation right now. Hopefully the coming week you will get your financials. You can check and see how you did for the quarter. Hopefully you're already getting monthly financials at least 5 to 10 days after the close of the month or the quarter. You'll get those statements so you can utilize that information to make decisions going forward. One of the things I find people don't really do is they don't set their goals the right way. And so when we come to the end of the quarter, the end of the year, we look at where we are and we get frustrated. We're not there. And one of the worst things is we overcomplicate our goals. They need to be simple. We create too many goals. You know, when I have a to-do list, it's 3 to 5 items. It used to be 20 items, and I never could get through it, and it frustrated me every single day. Simplify your goals. Think about them. Make them important. And then don't have too many, because otherwise you're not going to have a focus day in and day out, month in and month out on those goals. And the other thing that we do, particularly in small business, when we're all excited, we're passionate, just like Judy was that we had earlier, you're really excited about what you're doing while you're there and all those things. It can lead us, if we're not careful, to set unrealistic goals. So make sure your goals are realistic. Make sure you don't have too many. They're not complicated. And also, don't get too detailed. In other words, I'm looking for a sales increase of 5%. For the year, I'm looking for 10%. But you break it down by quarters. Up this much this quarter, we're going to be down this summer because summertime is seasonality. Well, I'm going to look for some ways to hold it up, but I may not increase, right? So think through that. Set your goals that are done the right way so you don't set yourself up for failure. One of the ways you do that is what I mentioned earlier, is you set annual goals and then break them down into the quarters. I know some people do it monthly, and that's great, but at least break them down into the quarter, okay? What has to happen this quarter? In other words, when I'm putting those goals together, I'm thinking, what do I need to do in the first quarter, second, third, and so on and so forth? So at the end of the year, I'm there. I'm not going to get a big surprise. I have no opportunity to make up something that happened because I'm not setting quarterly goals. I'm not checking those goals, reviewing those goals to make sure I'm on track. Also, you need to have some kind of action reminder in your system. In other words, you need to do certain things. You have the action plan, whatever, for each goal. Make sure you're staying on top of them at least once or twice a quarter or each month, in the quarter. You need to look at them, refresh yourself, have them come up in your system, your calendar reminder, and make sure that you're doing the things daily that are necessary to get you where you're going to go. At the end of the quarter, let's review those goals. Let's see how we came out. And if we didn't meet a goal, why did that happen? Very, very important. Why did it happen? Because then you can make adjustments and not make a mistake if, in fact, you overcomplicated them or you were too detailed and they weren't understandable. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you for joining us this week. And I also want to thank Judy Salcido for joining us, talking about her wonderful business story. Remember, you can reach her at 936-441-3223. If you need home care or want to talk about some of the things Judy had, I encourage you to get in touch with her. Again, thank you for joining us here on our show today. And remember, stay in touch with what's happening in Montgomery County right here on Lone Star Community Radio. And until next week, as always, stay engaged and always keep the focus on what counts in your business.